Amira had just finished one of the longest days of her life. Running her small cafe alone had drained every bit of her energy, and by the time she turned off the last light, the street outside had already fallen into an uneasy silence. The night carried a strange heaviness, as if the air itself was warning her to leave quickly. Normally, her friend picked her up after late shifts, but a sudden cancellation left her standing alone under a flickering streetlight. Tired but cautious, she opened her mobile app and ordered a taxi. The darkness around her felt unusually deep, and every passing moment made her more aware of how empty the street was. When a car finally approached, she felt a brief sense of relief. The vehicle matched the color and model shown on the app, but something about it seemed slightly off. The number plate wasn't an exact match, and the way the car slowed down felt hesitant, as if the driver wasn't sure whether he should stop. Before she could decide whether to step forward or step back, the back door of the car slowly pushed open. Instead of a driver greeting her, an injured man collapsed halfway out of the back seat. His clothes were dirty, torn, and covered in dust. There were streaks of dried blood on his face, and his eyes carried a look of deep fear and exhaustion. His entire body trembled as he struggled to move, barely able to hold his weight. The sight of him drained the breath from Amira's chest. She froze, unsure whether the man was seeking help or trying to warn her. The driver sat silently in the front seat, his face hidden behind the shadowy interior. He didn't step out to assist, didn't ask for help, didn't even react to the injured man falling out. He simply watched through the rearview mirror, unmoving, as if observing her reaction. The injured man's trembling hand slipped something toward Amira before he collapsed on the ground. It was a small, torn piece of paper with handwritten coordinates on it. The moment she looked at it, she felt a cold wave move through her body. Something about the numbers signaled urgency and danger. As she lifted her head, she saw the driver finally stepping out of the vehicle. His footsteps were slow and deliberate, as though he wasn't approaching to help but to reclaim something or someone. Amira felt her instincts shift from confusion to warning. She could sense a threat in the way the driver moved, the way he kept his face hidden, and the way the injured man had desperately reached out to her. With her fear rising, she forced herself to act. She pulled the injured man toward the cafe and struggled to get him inside. Her hands shook as she locked the door behind them. The driver reached the entrance just moments later and began pounding on the glass with unsettling force, his face still partially hidden. The sound of his fists striking the door echoed through the cafe, each hit filled with quiet rage. Inside, the injured man whispered broken fragments of information while trying to regain consciousness. His weak breaths carried the weight of something dark he had uncovered. Through scattered hints and strained murmurs, Amira learned that he had been kidnapped after discovering disturbing activities linked to the driver and the group he worked with. Illegal operations carried out during the darkest hours of the night. The coordinates he had slipped to her were locations where victims had been taken or hidden. As Amira waited for help, she prepared herself for the worst. She armed herself with whatever she could find, every sound from the back door heightening her fear. The driver moved from one entrance to another, testing locks, searching for a way in, determined not to leave without what he wanted. The tension grew heavier with each passing second, stretching into an unbearable silence between each attempt the driver made to break in. Just as the back door began to crack under pressure, distant sirens cut through the night. The moment the sound reached the street, the driver's movements changed. Panic replaced persistence, but it was already too late. Police vehicles arrived, surrounding the area and forcing the driver to surrender. The night that had begun in quiet exhaustion ended in flashing red and blue lights, and the days that followed, Amira learned the true impact of the coordinates she had received. Authorities used them to rescue two missing individuals from hidden locations. The injured man survived and provided further information that dismantled the group behind the nighttime abductions. Amira's decision to order a taxi that night had unknowingly placed her at the center of a dangerous chain of events, but it also saved lives. She returned to her cafe with a deeper awareness of how unpredictable life can be. The ordinary act of booking a ride had pulled her into a moment that changed the fate of others. The night that once frightened her became a reminder of her courage, intuition, and the thin line between danger and destiny.